the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been the diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. I want to thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and like. Tonight we lost to the Sacramento Kings without Cade Cunningham, 131 to 110. So the latest on Cade is, I'm sure you've heard, he's going to be reevaluated in 7 to 10 days. And we always talk about when they say reevaluated, that doesn't mean that he will start playing. So we don't want to hurry him back, but we still need him back. So we don't know when that 7 to 10 days starts. Does it start from Sunday when he suffered the injury? And of course, we know the injury, I think, started on Friday against the Warriors when he got banged in the knee, and then I think it got re-injured or injured worse on Sunday against Denver. So we will see when he comes back. And I made this bold prediction a month ago or more that we were going to do really well in January, because part of it is I was hoping that Duran would be back and Bogey would be back and we would have our team together, and then our schedule was a little more favorable. I knew we had that Toronto game on the 30th, but then I knew that we had the Jazz, which I thought we might be able to beat them, but they're playing really well. You know, we lost to them in overtime, but they are playing really well. They're winning a lot of games right now. But we played tonight against Sacramento, who they had a bad game their last game. They even got booed. I mean, they got blown out by New Orleans. But tomorrow we have to turn around and play back to back against the Spurs. So the second worst team in the league, at home, and they have 2 days off before they play tomorrow, and we are playing back to back, and we are shorthanded, so that's tough. And then we have the Rockets on Friday, and then Monday we have the Wizards. So those were I thought we might be able to beat the Rockets a month ago. They are playing better than I thought they would even, and they play really tough defense. But I thought we have them at home. Maybe we'd be able to get them at home. And then I thought we'd have a great chance of beating the Wizards, even though that's on the road on Martin Luther King Day. That's at 1 o'clock, I think. But was a very winnable game. And so now we might not have Cade for any of those games. It is possible that Cade could come back for the Wizards game. So I'm not holding my breath, but we'll see what happens. And just want to throw this out there. We have 9 of 10 games at home, or starting the game that we played tonight. There's 9 out of 10 games at home. The one road game is at the Wizards. So that was another reason I thought maybe we'd be able to. A lot of them are against some good teams, some great teams, but I thought we might be able to steal some at home, and if we got everything clicking. And like I said, I was excited if we got to play with Bogey and Duran healthy, and Cade and Ivy, and that things would be, that maybe Monty would have things smoothed out a little bit. But anyway, real quick on Cade, again, he was having such a fabulous year, and now we are out without him. But Steph, his true shooting percentage is 59.6, Cade's is 59.4, and Booker's is 59.1 over the last 17 games or so. So that's just showing you how efficient he's been. So anyway, we lost tonight's game, 131 to 110. And it was amazing. It was crazy. The first quarter, we come out and we are so smoking. It's 47 to 29 at the end of the first quarter, if you were watching. And Bogey was lighting them up, and Duran couldn't miss, and Ivy was hot. And then the second quarter, what happens? The end of the second quarter, so they go on a 35-5 run to end the quarter, and we turn it over a bunch of times. So, that was just killer to have that happen. And then we had in the third quarter, we tied the score. We got behind, and then we got down by 13, and we fought back, and it was 101 to 101. And Joe Harris had come in and hit a bunch of threes, and Burks couldn't hit a shot in the first half, and he came out in the third quarter, and he was on fire. He scored 13 points, and then to end the game, they go on a 30-9 run after we had tied it up. So it was 2 huge runs, there that they outscored us by a million, and so we got smoked. But we gave up 82 points in the paint, and they just drove in or scored inside. And my question is for Monty is, maybe we should have tried the zone for a minute. I mean, who knows? Some teams like the Miami Heat, they play zone all the time. They play a lot of zone. And Eric Spoelstra just got a huge big contract. He just got signed for 8 years, 120 million. So that's the most money guaranteed to a coach. I think Popovich is more per year, and Monty's is way up there per year. But Monty's is only guaranteed for like 80 million for 6 years, and Spoelstra's is 120 million for 8 years. So, but he plays zone, and so I just can't see when you give up 82 points in the paint why you can't try maybe zone a little bit. So. Shout out to Michigan. Hail to the victors. National champions. That was pretty cool. So we got some good news there. But I just hope that we can turn around. We got to play against Victor on tomorrow night, and he is incredible. And just think if we could have got him. So he's averaging like 20 points a game. He's only playing like 29 minutes a game, but he's leading the league in blocks. He's averaging 19.3 points, 10 rebounds, 2.8 assists, and 45% from the floor and 35% on threes, which isn't amazing, but the 3 blocks is amazing, and especially when you consider that he's only playing 29 minutes a game. So it'll be fun to watch him play. It should be another big crowd. Some people want us to boycott the team, and I think that that's not going to happen. Another thing that breaks my heart, and some of my other, I know I have at least one of my faithful viewers that's going to the game on Friday. I got tickets to the game on Friday, and it just stinks. I got to drive down there. There's probably going to be a blizzard, and Cade's not going to play. So that's one of my favorite things to watch is Cade play. But we do have to talk about, and I don't talk enough about Jalen Duren. So we think that we got this terrible team, but Jalen Duren has been awesome. He's averaging in the last 11 games, 15 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, 73% from the floor. 73% he's shooting on field goals, and 72% from the line, which is really, really good. I predicted before the year started that he was going to average 14 and 12, and so he's right about there. And I was just hoping that he could get his free throw percentage up to about 75, and he's really improved that over the last while. So before we get into the game, I really want to talk about Keys to Wisdom, one of my faithful listeners that's got lots of wisdom. He mentioned, and I did the last podcast, and you can go back to hear it if you want. I did a podcast yesterday. It was about the trade deadline, which is in now less than a month, and about free agency and the draft, coming up draft, and what we need to do and how the Pistons need to improve themselves and what routes we can take and what a bunch of players. And I neglected to mention Miles Bridges. And again, Miles Bridges is, he's controversial character. He's got into some trouble, and he's done it more than once. And so that's the hard thing, because he is the talent we need. Because of his problems, we could get him at a discount or cheaper than what we thought, and he might want to come back here because he is from Flint. So we need a wing, and he has been, really, really great this year. 21 points a game, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 46% from the floor, 30% on threes. The last 4 games I just looked up, he's averaging like 27 a game, 60% from the floor, over 50% on threes in the last 4 games. And so he is a talent, and we need a wing, and he is a wing, and he could play. He rebounds really well. The concern is that he's had this trouble, and it's not even just, there's the public relations aspect that a lot of people get concerned about and what hit you're going to take. My other concern, though, is, and I'm not saying not to get him. I'm not saying if you do your due diligence and you can figure out what he's doing, but there's just guys that are wired different, and they can't help themselves. And we see Draymond Green. He was going to retire because he can't control himself. He punches a teammate. He grabs Rudy Gobert around the neck. He swings at another guy, but he gets all these technicals. He kicks LeBron in the crotch and probably cost his team an NBA championship. And he gets, he just can't control himself. But so a lot of people, you think, and every time they get a chance, I mean, even you can see it in all sports. If you remember Manny Ramirez that played for the Red Sox, he did all these crazy things that were frustrating for their fans, but they just said that's Manny being Manny. Or Antonio Brown, who went to Central, but he was this great wide receiver, and he was amazing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then he just got in trouble, and he went to another team, and he got in trouble, and everybody would take a chance on him, but he just he just couldn't help himself. He's out of the league, and he was a real talented player. So yeah, that's the concern, is that people can change, and I believe in second chances. So that's a true thing. But I'm just saying that he's a free agent, so we don't have to trade for him. He's a free agent at the end of this year, and so we can just try to sign him and maybe get him for a little bit of a discount. But I still think it's going to cost, I don't know, who knows, 30 million. What is some team going to offer him because of his trouble with the law and everything? So we don't know what's going to happen there. So we'll just see. But he is the kind of player that we need. We need a player that can shoot threes and can score and play the small forward or big forward spot. When she can play the three and the four, he's strong, can take the ball to the basket. So we'll see what happens. I don't know what I would do in that situation. And I didn't really mention Siakam, and I really don't think Siakam's a fit. And some of my listeners are interested in Siakam, but he's a free agent. He's 30 years old, so um, he can sign. Probably he's going to want to sign a max contract. I'm not sure if anybody's going to give him a max contract, but somebody might. But he's not a good 3-point shooter. He's 30 years old, so you're going to extend him for at least a 4-year contract and for over 40 million. And so with our timeline, I'm not sure. I said we need some players, and I mentioned, and again on my last video before this, the one I did yesterday, I mentioned a lot of players that I think are possible, that aren't going to demand as much money, that we wouldn't have to sign for 4 years, that aren't, or they're not as old as he is. So um, just go ahead and listen to that. But our buddy Hamidou Diallo, he is going to be playing with the Wizards, so we're going to get to see him play. He's been tearing it up in the G League. He had an amazing year with us last year as far as his field goal percentage. He shot like 60%, and he's like the 6'4" guard, but obviously he can't shoot the three, and we need shooters. But here he was. He's a freak athlete, and he can make things happen on the court. And again, he was real effective last year, but I was just shocked that nobody had picked him up. But I'm happy for him that he's going to get a shot here at it, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, so anyway, in the first quarter tonight, 47-29, we shot 76% from the field. We made every shot. And I thought, oh, without Cade, we're going to steal one. And this last year it happened. Cade got hurt. We went out west. We beat Utah in Utah, and I don't know if we beat Oklahoma City or we beat some other good team out west. And both those games, Marvin Bagley was like 11 for 14, and so that's helped us win those games. But we played without Cade. That was early on when he first got hurt. But uh, so it looked like we were 7 for 10 on threes. Holy cow, here we go. I was thinking Bogey was 5 for 5 from the field and 3 for 3 on threes. And Duran was 5 for 5 from the field in the first quarter. And Ivy was hot. And then at halftime, like I said, the end of the second quarter, they went on this big run, and we turned it over a whole bunch of times. And so we hadn't turned it over much in the first part. And then the last 5 minutes, the first part, I think we turned it over like 3 times in the first 17 minutes. In the last 5 minutes, we turned it over like 5 or 6 times. So, um, yeah, and then Burks, he was, like I said, he was 1 for 5 in the first, 1 for 7, 1 for 5 on threes in the first half, and then he comes out there in the second half just smoking and just hitting tough shot after tough shot. So, but Killian had 4 fouls. He was 0 for 1 and 4 turnovers in the first half. So Livers, I was surprised. They keep starting him, and I thought, I don't think that he should start, but he only played in 15 minutes. So I'm not opposed with the team that we have right now, with Stu out and everything, and Cade out, that he would maybe play 15 minutes. But he was 1 for 3, 1 for 2 on threes, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 3 points. Bogey, so they really locked him up in the second half. He played 33 minutes. He was tired, but he tried to will the team, but he still only he was 10 for 14. And in the first half he was 8 for 9. So he hardly he only made 2 shots in the second half. He was 4 for 4 on threes in the first half, and he ended up 4 for 7. So he was 0 for 3 on threes. He only got 3 free throws, 2 for 3, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 26 points. But like I said, 22 points he had in the first half. So they made a concerted effort to shut him down. So that was tough. But he tried. He still looked like, Bogey out there. Duran got in foul trouble. It was a hard time. Sabonis just took it to him. Sabonis had 37-point triple-double and 16 for 21, and he just took it to him. And Duran started out taking it to him. Burt Duran drove on him and he scored on him. And like I said, he was 5 for 5, and they weren't all just easy shots. But Duran ended up, 8 for 14, so he was only 3 for 9 in the second half. And he had 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 turnovers, which is too many for that. Having 3 assists, 16 points. Ivy, he started out really well, and he was like at 5 for 10 in the first half, but he ended up 7 for 17. He missed a lot of his shots at the end. He was exhausted, and he was trying to force things a little bit, trying to make things happen. And he ended up 7 for 17, 2 for 9 on threes, 6 for 8 from the free throw line, and he had 5 offensive rebounds, which again, he's been just crashing those boards as hard as he can. He had 6 assists and 2 steals and 4 turnovers, which is too many, but 22 points. So here's the problem, though. Killian Hayes, again, 30 minutes, 1 for 4. So you got a starting player for your team that plays 30 minutes and he scores 4 points. And so that's what I just said. You just can't have guys that are non-scorers. He's 1 for 4. They don't guard him, and he's still 1 for 4. And he's 0 for 1 on threes. He did make 2 free throws, 4 rebounds. He had 7 assists, which is great, but he had 6 turnovers. So it's, that's not going to get it done. Asar, he got to play garbage time at the end. He played 12 minutes. He was 0 for 2, 2 rebounds, 3 steals, and 0 points. Have I ever said to you that I want Asar to play and develop and see what he can do? He gets loose balls. He tips balls out to other people that he doesn't get a credit for a rebound or a steal, that he just can make things happen. And like I've been saying, we lose tonight by 21 points, and he plays 12 minutes. And, we got these other guys, what do we have to lose? That's what I keep on saying. But Joe Harris, he came out of nowhere tonight, and he was, he hasn't got to play hardly at all this year. He was hurt, and then he's in the lineup a little bit, but he would only play like 11 minutes and stuff. But he only played 9 minutes tonight, but he's 3 for 5 on threes. And so that's what we expected to try to get out of him. And that's what we hoped, when we signed him or traded for him. I mean, we actually got picks back for him. So, he didn't cost us anything. I think we got 2 second-round picks to take his contract. And again, I think I said that we had to use our salary cap up to a certain point. So we were required, obviously we needed somebody better, but he did come through tonight and hit shots. Knox played 20 minutes, 3 for 8, 1 for 4 on threes. Again, he's got to be a floor spacer. His percentage isn't that good. He's had a couple of great games, but the rest of the games he's been below average. He had 8 points. Wiseman, 23 minutes because of Duran's foul trouble, but he played hard, but he has 2 for 3, 5 rebounds. He tried to guard Sabonis, didn't do a great job doing that, but neither did Duran. Burks, 20 minutes, 5 for 11, 3 for 7 on threes. Again, he had a tale of 2 halves. He was terrible the first half. He was fantastic the second half. And he's playing with a lot of confidence. Like I said, he takes some really, really hard shots, and he makes them sometimes. But he missed them all in the first half. He made them all in the second half, pretty much. So we shot 47%, which isn't bad for us. We shot 38% from threes, which is really great for us. Of course, again, we were 7 for 10 in the first half, in the first quarter, and so our percentage was really not that great after that. But we were 16 for 21, 76% from the line, which isn't good. We got 40 rebounds to their 44 rebounds, 21 turnovers, which is way too much. And those streaks where we got outscored so bad in the end of the game and the end of the second quarter were fueled by turnovers. But 21 is a ridiculous number to have. They shot 57%, which there was little resistance. Like I said, they scored 82 points in the paint. They were 39% on threes. It seemed like they made every one. And of course, they started out cold, but after the second quarter, they made like every three, it seemed like. But they were 13 for 33 on threes. They didn't shoot the free throws that good, and we shot more free throws than they did. They were 10 for 14. We were 16 for 21. They had 4 more rebounds than we did, and again, they had 17 turnovers to our 21. But Sabonis, 37 points. He was 16 for 21, and 1 for 1 on threes, and 4 for 4 on free throws. He had 10 rebounds, 13 assists, and he's their post player. So his numbers have gone way up. So I talk about this sometimes, about how players can play depending on what team they're on. His numbers are way up in every area from when he was in Indiana. He gets way more usage. And so that's again thing I talk about Ivy and different players that, this guy can look real impressive, but he's getting way more usage than everybody else. So Keegan Murray had lit us up 32 points. He had a whole bunch of three spots, scored 27, and Monk came off their bench and scored 20. So they had four guys that scored 115, and we scored 110. So, but there's things that happen in games, and a lot of guys get injured. Halliburton got injured to pull the hamstring, I think, and so he's going to be out for a while. And John Morant is out for the rest of the year. He just came back he had a 25-game suspension. Then he got to play 9 games, and his team did fantastic with him playing. And they're already missing some key players in their two centers. But they're playing in Dallas tonight, and it was 86-63 at one point. I didn't see that when I stopped to record this. The Grizzlies were winning in Dallas, Kyrie and Luka are both playing, so I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas comes back. But it's still, there's a lot of injuries in the league. But I want to thank you for listening, and I want you to keep on trying to stay positive. I know I don't blame you if you're not watching, and if you're not watching, I'll be on after the Spurs game tomorrow night, and we'll have a lot to talk about then. But again, I appreciate every one of you for listening. Be the reason that somebody feels cared for and loved, and go Pistons.